Yo, this is raw and uncut. Well, serving them raw and uncut with no filter. Take it how you take it, you heard? Hey, straight no filter, so you know somebody gonna be in their feelings and I'm be in my bag.
Hey, welcome. Whether you're on your way to work, whether you're at your lunch break, or whether you listen to this before you go to bed, this is the Raw and Uncut podcast. I'm your host, Rels, and I'm joined by a guest, a new friend, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? A gym partner, a good guy, overall good guy. He definitely be out there in the streets working. Joined by my man Grant. Man, how you doing it, man?
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
No, appreciate it. I wanted to, since this is Pride Month, I wanted to bring on people who are in their life, who experiences this, who experiences all of this. I needed it from a personal standpoint, so I appreciate you for being on the show. Definitely appreciate you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Because I know it's not easy for a lot of people to, have this kind of conversation and express themselves. And it's not easy for a host to have this conversation and feel comfortable having this conversation, because, a lot of people are not comfortable with this kind of thing.
Right. So, absolutely.
Yeah, so with me, look, man, listen, I love everybody. There's no disdain, no hate, no nothing.
And
I appreciate
it's appreciated. It's much appreciated.
Yeah, because you'd be surprised, man. Like, I've encountered people and I'm just like, yo, we're all the same. I don't understand why people feel the way they feel. It's like I don't know, man. But for me, my girlfriend, my fiance, she's bisexual. So, you know what I'm saying? So she's experienced things. We've had conversations, and all of that stuff.
Right.
Should have brought her on the show, but damn, I wasn't even thinking. Oh, well,
See?
You know what? That's a whole nother, that's a whole nother.
Listen, that's another one we could do later on.
That is a fact. So, my first question I want to get under the way. So I asked you this before we went on air, and then you didn't really explain it because I wanted to wait to the show. So my question to you first is: do you identify as gay or do you identify as bisexual?
So I identify as gay because I am emotionally and physically attracted to men.
Okay.
However, I still do have a very healthy sexual attraction towards females as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not on an emotional level. I can't date a female. I can't be with you in a relationship because it doesn't go that deep with me. It's purely physical.
Okay.
When
so
it
that's
comes
what I
to
was going to
females.
go. Okay, so that's where I was going to go. So it's more of you get more of an emotional connection from men than you do from women.
Absolutely.
Okay, so my question is, why do you think that is? Like, I guess I could say, for the next question I can ask you is like, at what age did you discover this about yourself?
So honestly speaking, I discovered it at a really young age. I can honestly say I was probably like around 10 to 11 years old when I first started having some sort of indication that I found boys cute. Because at that time it wasn't looking at like, oh, like, like that's somebody I want to have sex with. It was like, oh, he's cute. But I couldn't quite grasp why I thought that. To me, there was no rhyme or reason for it because I grew up in a household. I grew up around women. I've always been around, heterosexual men. Most of my male friends are straight. So I've always been around that. I've always been around that heterosexual couple foundation. So it was weird to me to look at another boy and say, oh, he's cute, and not being able to figure out why. So it created a little bit of confusion when I was younger, because I think like dealing with sexuality is 100% an adult issue. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like as a kid, you may question things sexually and not really know what's going on, but it was never really that deep to me. Like, it wasn't something where I felt like ashamed of it. I wasn't like embarrassed about it. It was just like, why? Like, why do I find him cute and I find her pretty and cute at the same time? Okay, this is weird. Because, as a boy, you're not supposed to look at other boys like that. You're not supposed to say another boy's cute. But that's where my mindset was. I definitely have an old soul. So my processing early on was a little bit different. but being able to fully understand it, that took me years and years and years. I didn't fully understand my sexuality until I was like 18, 19 years old.
That's like when you finally like was accepting of it, like you came into your own, as so to speak.
More so understanding it. Because
Mhm.
I've always been accepting of who I was. I was never like growing up. I was never that kid that was hyper masculine. I wasn't walking around, deep voice. I don't have a deep voice now. And I'm 40 years old. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, but on the flip side, I played sports. I played basketball, football, handball, baseball. I ran track and field, bikes, rollerblading, mountain climbing, all that crazy, active, roughhousing shit. I did all of that, but had these thoughts that I couldn't come to grasp with.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me until I was like 17, 18 years old to really like do some research, start asking questions to people that are a little bit older than me so I can kind of figure out exactly what it was that I was experiencing. Because it wasn't something I was exposed to. I wasn't exposed to a lot of homosexuality as a kid. I didn't have like openly gay relatives or openly gay friends coming up. Like I didn't experience any of that. I grew up like how most people grow up. You grow up in just a regular neighborhood doing regular things. Being a kid, I was a kid most of my life. So my sexuality never played a role in how I moved because my mother made sure I was a kid.
I mean, yeah, that too, and us growing up in the same neighborhood, and like you just said, growing up a certain way, there weren't a lot of people who were outwardly open about how they felt sexually.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Although you'd be surprised at the amount of people who are actually yes, and they're all around us. Like, but because of where we grew up and the environment that we grew up in, nobody was really going to come out and
Absolutely. And
explain
then
or
if they
speak.
did come out or they had some sort of stance on it, they were shunned. If they were part of your family, that's the family member that couldn't come around. That's the family member that everybody whispered about and talked about. So that created a level of discomfort for them to
Mm-hmm.
even be open about situations and have a perception of seeing somebody like myself who 1000% I exhibited all the signs of what people consider a typical homosexual male. They were all there, but nobody could ever talk to me about it.
Mm.
And people who did want to ask questions, they were kind of pussyfoot around it because, again, there's this immense level of discomfort around the topic.
Mm-hmm.
So people don't even know how to ask the question to
Yeah.
help you decipher what it is that you're going through and help you work through it. So that I think that for me was why it took me so long to come to terms with it and come to an understanding of it because I basically had to do it by myself.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So, next question, because we've had conversations in the gym about traveling and stuff like that, and
Right.
you telling me about traveling with your friends. How comfortable were they with you? Have it ever been any uncomfortableness with any of your friends once you
So
told them?
the craziest thing is my friends were instantaneously accepting. Like they literally, even when I was younger, like when I first, because I can say I honestly like came out when I was like 18. And all of my friends since then don't care. Like, and even when I came out then, it was like one of my best friends that I grew up with. I've known her since we was like in kindergarten together. And we never had the conversation. Like it never, ever, ever came up. She didn't know how to ask. She didn't want to ask. I didn't know how to quite tell her because I was like, okay, I don't want to mess up our friendship because I was young. And now I'm at a point where if I tell you and it mess up our friendship, it wasn't a friendship to begin with. But
Absolutely.
at that time, I was real selective on who I invited into my life and let them know those things. And she was like, I don't care. Like you're still the same lunatic you've been since we was kids. So nothing about that changes. I still love you the same. So I can honestly say I've been blessed to have both family and friends fully accepting of my sexuality.
Okay, so I got a two-part question because now that was a two-part question. Now I'm coming up with. So, who was the first person that you told, and what was the What was your family's reaction when you finally came out?
So the first person I told was my mom.
As
She
should
actually
be.
asked me. She actually asked me when I was about 15 years old, because she had some indications. Moms know everything, and
Absolutely.
a black mother. She know everything about her child. She know everything.
Absolutely.
So she asked me when I was 15. I told her no, because at that time I wasn't comfortable. At that time, I'm still trying to figure out what the hell is going on with me. So I couldn't say, "Oh yeah, I'm gay," because I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on. So no. When I finally came out to her at 18, the reception was acceptance, but hurt at the same time.
Because you lied to us before, right?
And that was literally her reason behind it. She said, "It hurt me because you lied to me, and you never have to lie to me about anything. I will accept you for who you are. Whatever you do, you are my baby. You are my number one. Don't ever lie to me again. You don't ever have to lie to me about something like that." I told her I wasn't intentionally lying to her. It was something that I hadn't even come to grasp with. So it's like, I can't full on give you a definitive answer for something that I'm still questioning myself. So we definitely had a great conversation about it. And even to this day, she's my biggest supporter. She likes it more than I do, honestly speaking, because she's always happy and excited about it. I'm like, this shit is rough. But she's definitely been my biggest supporter, for sure.
Okay, so now I got another two-part question. What is the easiest thing about this? Is so weird to ask this question, but I'm gonna ask it. What is the easiest thing about being gay? What is the hardest part about being gay?
So I would say the easiest part about being gay is you maintain, for me personally, I've maintained a lot of my youthfulness within my sexuality. A lot of my friends, especially like a lot of my straight male friends, we're the same age, but they're old in spirit. Because I've always wanted to do things and try things, and because unfortunately within being gay, one of the hardest things of being gay is the fact that you don't have the ability to experience your sexuality early on. Everything that a gay man experiences as far as his sexuality typically comes in his adult life, because he's more comfortable, he's more aware of his surroundings, and he's more capable of defending the things that he does. So a lot of people always ask, like, why is he a grown man and he has nail polish? It's because I'm grown and I can do that now. When I was a kid, if I wanted to do that, I would have got beat up.
Times are a lot more accepting now, a lot more
Right.
open-minded than they were
1000%.
when we were younger.
You talking about I'm a kid in the 90s. That was not acceptable. You couldn't walk around with nail polish on. You couldn't walk around dyeing your hair different colors. Like, it was unacceptable for you to even wear certain color clothes. If your clothes was too tight, or your shirt was too short, or your shorts was too short, they called you a little girl, they called you a little sissy, and all those other things. So it's like, I think that's a definite detriment to the community, where kids are not allowed to experience themselves, because it's not about experiencing sexuality. As a kid, sex is the farthest thing from your mind. You just want to be happy, eat, smile, hang out with your friends, and have a good time. And I think ultimately we deprive a lot of kids of that when we push our adult issues on them. So for me, that was the hardest thing. It was having to navigate through the adult issues of my sexuality while being a child.
Still trying to figure yourself out.
1000%.
Trying to figure yourself out.
Everybody knows who I am except for me.
Trying to figure yourself out without being judged. Because I honestly feel like that's the number one ultimate fear, right? Is you coming out and everybody just turning their back on you.
Just turning their back on you, 100%. Everybody disowning you. Oh, I can't be around you anymore. We can't be friends anymore. And like I said, I've been fortunate enough to not experience that, where every single one of my friends was like, listen, I don't care.
Is it hard finding somebody to vibe with?
Finding somebody to vibe with that doesn't ultimately lead to sex. Yes. Because gay, straight, bisexual, pansexual, whatever you identify as, the hormones are still there. The testosterone still rages. Men are still men, regardless of what it is that they do. So it's definitely been a struggle, especially nowadays. I think nowadays, because people don't value relationships like how they used to, now it's more so about what you can do for me versus what we can do together, what we can build together.
Just had that whole conversation the other day.
It's become extremely, extremely difficult in the dating scene, for sure.
Everybody's
and
looking
then, like
for.
I said,
Is it
a
more
fuck
like
buddy.
everybody's? Oh, yeah. And
Everybody's looking.
And you yourself just said you have an old soul, so obviously what you want deems more than just the physical.
1000%. The physical is great, but can you make me laugh? Can you keep me entertained? Can you keep my attention? I don't want to get bored in a relationship, because if all we're doing is having sex, that gets boring. We're not doing anything. There's no foundation. We're not building anything. It just becomes monotonous, and I don't do monotony well. That does not work well with me.
So how do you feel about those who are against the whole community, the LGBTQ? Like, because at the end of the day, like we see it now, especially going on with schools and a lot, and with these governors and stuff, and they're trying to eliminate.
Absolutely.
Well, first of all,
absolutely.
The more important question is, how do you feel about them teaching kids about this at a young age? Do you think that's an advantage or a disadvantage?
So I don't think it's either or. I personally don't believe that children should be sexualized at any facet of their life, at any phase of their life, whether it be a heterosexual couple or a homosexual couple. Sexuality needs to be left out of children's lives. Kids literally need to be kids. And the only time that you should introduce these things to kids is when they come to you and they ask you questions. But I personally feel like, again, sexuality is something that confuses you as an adult. You know what I'm saying? You can be full on into your 30s and still have confusion about your sexuality. And you have a fully developed mind. You've had experiences. You've gone through life. You've seen things. You've done things. And you still have levels of confusion. So to introduce that to children, I've always felt that's problematic. But I do feel that when a child expresses things to you, that you handle it accordingly. You address their concerns. You answer any questions that they have. And if you don't have the answer, you do your damnedest to get the answer for them. You don't leave children in confusion. You do whatever is necessary to help guide them. Like, parents are supposed to be a guide in their child's life. You're not the end all. You're not the be all. You don't make all the decisions. You can't tell them what to do in their life. You can only guide them and hope that their life turns out for the best. But it's too much control. I think the issue that I have is the control factor. Too many people trying to control what everybody else does. And you can't do that. And it'll stress you out trying to control other people, which is also why everybody's so misery and so angry and just vile. There's a lot of hatred going on in the world right now. And it's literally because everybody is wrapped up and internalizing everybody else's issues and everybody else's shit. If you focus on your shit, misery does not sit well there. It doesn't set up shop. It comes in briefly and it goes.
I couldn't have said it better myself, to be totally honest with you. I think nowadays school systems now, if you had to put, well, especially in Florida, with especially the stuff that's going on down there, if you ask if you ask the governor, what would he rather do? Because you just said, like, you don't think like it should be taught to kids at a young age, whether it's homosexuality, whether you're heterosexual, whatever. But I think at this point, they would rather teach kids about sex between a man and woman before they even want to touch a conversation about gays or bisexuals, or like they would rather force the kids to be like, at the end of the day, you're supposed to be with a woman. If you're a boy, you're supposed to be with a girl. If you're a girl, you're supposed to be with a boy. We're okay if you guys have sex at a young age, but we don't want to have these young kids having sex with each other, like boys and boys and girls and girls.
1000%. It's a double standard.
Absolutely.
And it's hypocritical 1000%, because if sexuality should not be introduced to kids, then it shouldn't be introduced to kids, period. Whether it's a heterosexual couple or a homosexual couple or whatever sexuality they identify as, or leave it alone. Leave it out altogether. I do believe in sex education, because we do need to teach children preventative measures. We need to teach children health and hygiene and things of that nature. But none of that has to do with sexuality.
Yeah, but
teaching a child teaching a child to wear a condom. You're not telling them who to use it with. You're just telling them that they need to use a condom and why they need to use a condom. And I think that it gets lost. And I think people too often confuse sexuality with every aspect of a person's identifying. Like, just because you're gay doesn't mean you like dick. Just because you're gay doesn't mean you're extremely feminine and flamboyant. And I think media, social media, as well as big box media, plays a massive, massive role in the misperceptions that people have of homosexuality. And I've been saying this for years and years and years.
So I'm going to tell you what I feel like the biggest misconception of homosexuality is, and I've discussed this with my fiance because we've seen this. Every HIV commercial or every HIV preventative, you know where I'm going with this. Every HIV preventative commercial, or they give you every HIV commercial that has whatever it is that you need to take for whatever HIV, it's always depicted as two men or
yes,
two
sir.
women. And
yes, sir.
The reality of it all is I'm pretty sure that the first people who caught HIV were not homosexual people, but the way they depicted, even to go back to the monkeypox? When monkeypox first came, what was the first thing?
Another gay disease. That was another gay disease. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was another gay disease. Yes, sir. So, listen, they tried the same thing with COVID. There was a certain point during the whole COVID pandemic where they were saying that anal sex can give you COVID.
It's mind-boggling. Like, my thing is, if you're gonna show two gay men, and then they do it in a way where it's like the two gay men are severely or not severely, or they are closely affectionate with each other during the commercial. And it's like, if you take
hugs
this
and kisses and lovey-dovey and
I'm
so
sorry.
What it is
if you have HIV, the commercial's not meant for it to be happy-go-lucky. But at all. I mean, I get the message kind of, because the message is kind of like, if you get HIV, you still can live a healthy life.
Right. It's more so to say it's no longer the death sentence that it is. But on the flip side, it does have a very negative connotation to it, where the visualization of it is consistently two men, two women, two men.
You don't see a man and a woman.
Not a homosexual disease. It is a disease that can be contracted by any human being walking this earth. It's whether you gay, straight, bisexual, whatever the case is, anybody can catch any disease that's walking this earth.
Let's be clear. Magic Johnson was the perfect example of that. Like, people tend to forget that. Like, he was a heterosexual man who caught
sleeping with everybody.
Yes, who caught HIV, but yet you don't see a commercial with him with another man.
Never.
You know what I'm saying? And even then, the celebrities, they try to depict they try to make it almost look like when you're a celebrity and your kid is gay, it's almost like the worst feeling in the world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But like, you know what it is, though?
Wrong.
It's fear. Fear is the easiest way to control people.
Absolutely.
Fear and ignorance gives you absolute power over people, because people have a fear of homosexual people, but also have the ignorance of what it's like to be homosexual, what the lifestyle actually entails, what we do on a regular basis. It's easy to control people. It's easy to manipulate them. It's the same thing that they're doing with me and my friends had a great conversation about this with the whole attacking of the trans community and all this legislation and all the fight against drag queens and all this nonsense. The only reason they're doing that is because they've now moved on to the next topic. See, remember, prior to this, the biggest topic that was in the LGBTQIA community was gay marriage.
Mm-hmm. And then that
gay marriage is now officially a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't fight that no more. So what can we do now to get them back in the spotlight to bring them down? Let's focus on a different aspect of the community. Now let's focus on drags. Let's focus on transgenders. Let's focus on another topic that people are very ignorant about. And people just latch onto it. And here we are today going through the same bull crap that we went through 4, 5, 6, 10 years ago. It's a never ending cycle.
And let's be clear, transgenders were around forever. Exactly. So it's like let's take Dwayne Wade for example. Son became a female, and now identifies as a female. It was almost like, yo, you're the father. You should stop that. You should change that.
That's not how it works.
But this is the very same thing that your example of, yo, I didn't want to come out when I was younger, for one, because I was trying to figure myself out. And two, I just didn't want to feel judged. Is the exact same reasons that these kids are now. Thank God now that these kids are able to now feel comfortable enough to identify themselves and be freely to be who they want to be and not be able to be scared. Look at how much different would the world have been if Dwayne Wade didn't accept that situation. But then when he
to
does
be honest
accept
with
it,
you, we might be having a conversation about the passing of his child, because a lot of people don't realize how many kids we lose due to suicide because of the pressures that society puts upon them. Again, it's adult issues being forced upon kids, and kids cannot handle that. Kids are not mentally equipped to process how we process things. So we have to help them through it. By us shutting it down, dismissing them, and pushing them away, we're not helping them.
And
we're putting them into a box, and all they can do is shut down.
But that's the thing too, because they're also saying at the end of the day, if a kid is that young, how would they be able to know that they feel comfortable enough to identify themselves as another sex?
It's a feeling.
When you pretty much explained it at the beginning. Like you literally said at a young age, you was trying to understand why you felt
1000%. Because it's literally, it's a feeling. You get a feeling, you get a thought process that you're not used to. It's something different. And it's like, wow. And then it becomes dominant. So now it's like, okay, this is something that's really, really major in my life. I got to figure this out. But when you look around you, there's no one to help you. There's no adults willing to give you advice. They're trying to shut down programming and anything that's necessary to aid you down this path and give you some guidance is being eliminated.
Today's society is trying to reverse the whole process all over again.
Absolutely. We're trying to go back to the ancient times where women walked around with skirts down to their ankles and stayed at home and cooked all day, and men went out there and grunted and moaned and came back home dirty. Like, we're going back to caveman times. The thought process, we should be progressing and moving forward as a people, and we're doing the exact opposite.
Absolutely. And I always say this because I'm like, at the end of the day, if a kid can't express themselves, and thank God for today's times, because today's times is so modern, so advanced. And like you said, we are progressed to the fact where a kid, sadly, still in certain situations, they can't. But today,
we got a long way to go, but we are making little progress. There's little snippets of progress here and there that are occurring, but ultimately it's still not enough because there's still too many people who are against it, too many people who are fighting it. And again, for me, like I say, if your thought process is protect children, then do just that. Protect the children. Give them the guidance that they need. Give them the answers to the questions that they have. Educate them. Don't stifle them. Don't demean them. Don't bring them down. Don't put them in a box. Don't make them feel less than, because that's not protection. That's hurtful. That's harmful.
And like you said, and that right there would cause suicides. That would cause
1000%.
Like,
let me tell you, for me, it is an immense blessing that my mother was accepting of my sexuality, and that I'm able to have conversations with her around it, and have been able to have conversations with her around it, because you deal with so much of society not wanting you, telling you you're not good enough, telling you, oh, you're gay, you're not man enough. You deal with that so often. People don't realize how instrumental it is to have a parental figure sit there and be like, you know what? It's okay. And I got you. I don't care about the rest of the world. I got you. If nobody else in this world got you, know that I got you. That is invaluable. That's something that can't be bought. You can't manufacture that. It's incredible. And I wish more parents were like that with their kids.
The crazy part is, like, once your parents is okay with it, you don't really give a damn what nobody else thinks.
And that's pretty much what it comes down to. Is my mama like it? I don't care what you think.
If your friends were not okay with it, then guess what? By this time now, you would have had a whole new set of friends who would have been okay with it.
Chucking up the deuces immediately, because that again, when your mom is accepting, when she gives you that stamp of approval, you know you good. You can move how you want to move.
And at the end of the day, that, like I'm saying, and then that's when nothing else in the world matters.
Absolutely. Now, I will say one issue I do have within the community, and it's because I represent two communities. Mm-hmm. I represent the Black community, and I represent the LGBT community.
So in the eyes of most, you already got two strikes against you, sadly.
Two strikes against me. And for me, my biggest issue with the acceptance of the Black community when it comes to homosexuality and things of that nature is the way that we approach our bigotry towards it is exactly how we were treated.
Explain.
So unfortunately, you have a lot of Black people who are accepting of homosexuality until it gets too close to home. Women love gay men. It's yes, honey, yes, all of that, until they find out that their child is gay, their brother's gay, one of their friends is gay. Then all of a sudden, he's every sissy, he's every liar, he's this, that, and the third, and they don't accept him. The way we look at it is exactly how white people treated us back in the days. They didn't want us to share bathrooms with them. They didn't want us to share sports with them. They didn't want us in their military. They didn't want us in their police force. They didn't want us in their schools. They didn't want us around their children. It sounds exactly like the same struggle.
That's crazy, because I've never thought about it like that.
A lot of people don't think about it like that, but I always tell people, if we're going to be better as a people, we can't use the same devices that our oppressors use. We can't have the same thought process that our oppressors had. I can't look down on somebody when I've been looked down on my whole life. Because the reality is, you can sit there and what I call the pack mentality and jump on board and, yeah, we don't like them gays and da-da-da-da-da. But guess what? You're still not liked. You sit there and you rally with the same people who don't like you.
They're using you now they're using you against
1,000%. Yeah. They're using you against yourself.
Yes.
That's what it's always been. And that's always been the tactic. Think about the whole light skin versus dark skin thing. That wasn't created by us, but we continue to perpetuate it.
That is crazy. I never thought to compare the two, but when you say it like that, it makes total sense though.
They are very, very similar struggles. And the fact that it's a society that's looking at you with no understanding. They don't understand your culture. They don't understand your lifestyle. They don't care to. So they're going to shun you. They're going to get you out. It's literally the exact same type of struggle that we've gone through, but we can't rally together and fix it. We still act like we're the minority in situations, even when it comes to homosexuality. Like, we're not minorities anymore. There's a lot of gay people out there, a lot of them. And every industry that is thriving, we somewhere at the top. When it comes to fashion, who's running all these fashion houses? Gay men.
Make it very clear too. A lot of these people's favorite rappers out here are not straight.
Listen, man. Listen, man. A lot of these rappers, and that's why they have those beautiful NDAs.
Can't discuss anything.
Absolutely. But we know the reality is you're not going to sit there and tell me that if you got 10,000 rappers, one of them is going to, has some extracurricular activities, we're going to say. And you don't want nobody to know about. But again, we've also created an environment where they can't tell you that they're gay.
Of course.
Because instantly you lose all credibility. He's no longer a gangster. The shit he's rapping about ain't the truth. It could still be his entire life. He could have grown up in the hood. He could still be out there fighting with every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the streets, beating everybody ass, been in jail 10 times, in and out, and still be gay. It's all possible, because I tell people I'm a man and a human being before I'm anything. I don't want nobody to look at me as, oh, he's just a black man. No, I'm not. Because I'm so much more. Although I am immensely proud to be a black man, I am so much more than that. I don't want anybody to ever look at me and say, oh, look at that gay dude. I'm a lot more than just a gay dude. So I've learned to not wrap myself up in labels and to just be who I am. Just do what I do, not give a shit what anybody thinks about it, and live my life. Because ultimately, if I'm not living my life happy, I can't be the man that I want to be. I can't be the human that I want to be. I have to love everything about myself first. And I can honestly say I'm in a space where I love every aspect of my human being, which allows me to offer grace to other people, which allows me to have a different perception of things and allows me to be open to a lot of different things. And it's because I love myself. Like, I feel like self-love is key. It's a key foundation in everything you do in life, especially when dealing with this shit, because this shit is rough.
I can imagine how look. It gets. I don't want to sit here and say it gets easier as you get older. Okay, matter of fact, let me ask you a question. As you got
older,
it
does.
Yes, you see, I was going to see.
Actually, it absolutely does get easier as you get older, because as you get older, you start realizing that certain fights and it's just not worth it. Like, there's just certain things that people focus on, and even that you was focusing on in your youth, it's not worth it no more. Like, I used to be the guy that had to correct everybody. Anytime you said something wrong around me, I had to tell you about it. Like, I had to let you know what you said was wrong. At this point, I let people sit in their ignorance, because ignorance is a choice. You can choose to educate yourself and step out of ignorance, or you can choose to stay in ignorance and be oblivious to things. It's all a choice.
How many times can you explain the same thing to the same person?
and I'm not. That's not my purpose in life. My purpose in life is not to sit there and be your individual guide and help you navigate life and tell you everything you're doing is wrong or right or whatever the case is. That's not what I'm here for. If it's something that affects me directly and something that affects me personally, then I'm absolutely going to speak on it. But I learned a long time ago, like I tell people, I treat people exactly where they are in the position in my life. If you are outside of my world, your opinion on me does not matter. What you think of me, how I do things, how I move, how I dress, how I talk, how I look, none of that matters. If you're within my circle and you have those concerns, then I expect you to do something about it. You don't like how I dress? Buy my clothes.
Simply put, it's just no other way to say it. You are absolutely right. If the opinion is that strong, then do something about it. But a lot of
Literally,
people,
if you're close enough to me and you really, oh, I can't stand how you dress, take me shopping.
I mean, let's be honest though. A lot of people will say it under their breath, but they're not really going to say it to your face.
Oh, I'm the guy that says it to your face, though.
How many people have actually said to your face that they're not comfortable with your sexuality?
So I actually had one person say it, but it wound up being a different situation. So I was probably around like 23, 24 years old, and I was working at the Gap at this time. And there was somebody who I had became real cool with. We was cool, everything was great. But I let him know, like, listen, I want you to know this is what the deal is. I don't like you in no form or fashion, but I want you to know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't deal with that. That's just something I don't rock with. Like, you cool and everything, but nah, that's just not for me. Like, I'm not with that. I'm like, all right, cool, not a problem. Come to find out, the dude actually liked me, and I found this out years later. But because I was open,
And he
it
wasn't.
made him uncomfortable
That's crazy.
because he was DL.
uh, uh,
So it was like, you don't like me, but you are exactly like me.
but you do like me, but you won't say it because you don't want nobody else to know about it.
Which to me is also crazy. Like I've never, even throughout all my years, I've never understood the aspect of being DL,
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't lead with your sexuality and it's not something that's a focal point for you, why is it something that you have to deny or hide or keep secretive? You got a lot of masculine dudes out there that nobody ever in the streets would ever say, like, oh, I bet you he's gay, or, you know what I'm saying, have any type of questioning towards him. Why do you feel the need to hide? For me, that's one aspect of the lifestyle that I couldn't quite grasp. And I still can't grasp it to this day. Because despite me being openly gay, I get hit on by women on a regular basis.
What is those conversations like when you tell them like I'm not interested or like I'm gay? Like, is it?
It winds up being funny. It winds up being funny because I do encounter some women that are still like, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll still, you know what I'm saying? If I hate to be so vulgar, but I've had some women say, listen, if I can get your dick hard, you won't let me do what I want to do. And I'm like,
yeah, because it's like, what do you say? Because at that point, they don't even care, right?
it's like, damn, like, okay, I tried to be as cool about this as I can, but it's like, all right, now I gotta really like listen. And again, because I still have a sexual attraction to females, there is that one that might say some shit and she might get it.
Yeah. So now my thing is this: like, then you have to explain to them, like, look, at the end of the day, this is all it's going to be. But then
Oh, absolutely.
But
well,
then
see, now
you
for
run the
me,
risk.
I'm always honest about it. I'm always 1,000% honest, but I don't care about the risk of potentially losing.
Yeah, of course not. But then you run the risk of potentially y'all go ahead, do what y'all do, and then now she's attached to you because y'all did it when you explained to her what it already was.
That unfortunately is where the other side of me kicks in, and that's the I don't give a fuck side. Because I'm very honest about my shit. Because I tell you what it is, however you feel after that, whatever feelings you develop, I don't feel no type of way about that. Because I let you know what it was. And I've been on the receiving end of that. I've been on the receiving end where it was told to me, like, listen, this ain't gonna be nothing more than XYZ. And I caught feelings. And I got my feelings hurt. But I had no choice but to move on. What can you do about it? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's unfortunate the feelings develop, but I can't force you to be with me. You can't force nobody to be in a relationship with you. You can't force nobody to want to be with you. So being an adult, you got to come to terms with, damn, I caught feelings. Fuck, but I got to move on.
Mm-hmm.
because it's just not going to be what it's going to be. And then because I'm so honest, like I tell people, because I'm so brutally honest, if you set yourself up in any way, shape, or form to be on the receiving end of that brutal honesty, it's all your fault.
I mean, look, you warned them from the jump. It is what it is.
I let you know what it is, and I'm always honest about that because I don't believe in deceit. I don't believe in lying. I don't believe in cheating or anything of that nature. If I feel like we're in a relationship and I no longer want to be with you, I'm going to let you know why I no longer want to be with you. Now, if there's something that we can correct, move forward and fix it, great. If we can't, it's time to move on, because I'm not going to sit in misery every single day of my life being in a relationship that I'm not happy with, that I'm not fulfilled in.
Mm.
And too often people do that. They stick in a situation where it's like, okay, I like these things, but I don't like those things. It's okay to have non-negotiables in a relationship. And it's okay to not bend on those things. Certain things you should have in your life, especially when it comes to relationships, that you are not accepting of. To me, cheating is one of them. I don't understand how people come back from cheating. That is a end all, game over for me. You cheat, it's a wrap. We have nothing to discuss ever again in life, because you could have just left me. You don't want to be with me, so why would you stay and cheat?
I just think people are so scared to be alone nowadays. Everybody wants to say they have somebody.
Yeah, and I can get that. I get that. I'm an old soul, so I'm big on companionship, and I love to have people around me. I love being in relationships and doing all the going out and taking trips and going out to eat, or just laying up, cuddling, watching a movie type shit. Like, I love all of that, but I'm also content with myself, where I can sit there and be single, because I've been single now for about 6 years, and I'm happy. I'm not stressing over shit. I don't got to answer to nobody. Don't nobody got to answer to me. I ain't got to ask no questions. Nobody's questioning me. I'm good. Like, I found peace. And I think ultimately that's what I was looking for. And a lot of people tend to think that peace is in relationships. Peace is having somebody with you. Peace is all inside you. If you can't find peace within yourself, you'll never find it outside. You'll never find it nowhere else.
Nope. You're absolutely
so
right.
I honestly, I think that's why I am at the place that I am, and why I have this level of comfort where it's like, I'm at peace. I'm good. And if somebody comes into my life now, they're going to experience the best of me, because I'm at such a great fucking place in my life where it's only up from here. We only going to do the best of best things. There's no room for downfall. There's no room for trying to figure. Listen, we got this shit. Let's go. I'm good. You good. I'm in a great place. It's going to be a great situation.
Look, you're the perfect example right there. Like, if you define peace within yourself, then you don't really need from nowhere else.
From nowhere else. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm. So we're gonna wrap this up. So I'm starting to generally use this as a ending point with with all of my guests. So
okay,
my question is what would you at your age now tell you at 13?
Ooh. Damn, bro, that's a good one. I would tell my 13-year-old self, you gonna be all right. Everything that you're going through is for a reason, and you're gonna get to a place where everything for you feels right. The confusion that you have now is gonna pass. You got this, and you're gonna be good. I think that would be the most important thing that I would tell my 13-year-old self, to let myself know that you're gonna be good. For sure.
And there you have it. So once again, man, thank you for being a guest on the show. Thank you for opening yourself up for the world to,
Absolutely, man. It was a pleasure being a part of this. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great to have the dialogue and the conversation. I hope I can offer some clarity to anybody else having questions, and you know what I'm saying? I'm always available. So, anytime you want to do this, you got questions, I got answers, I got time.
Absolutely. So we're gonna do another one soon. Once again, though, I thank you. I appreciate you being on the show, man. Definitely appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Take care.
Appreciate it.
Good day.